Hi guys, Robbie46 here. Welcome to the race results and analysis from yesterday's MotoGP race at Catalunya. Now the weekend didn't start that well. Unfortunately, on Friday during free practice 2 in Moto2, Louis Salom crashed at turn 12 and sadly lost his life. So thoughts go out to his family, friends. Because of that, the track was altered to the F1 formation of the track, meaning that there was the F1 chicane just before the last corner to help slow the guys down and to try and keep them safe. So let's go on to the MotoGP race now, and it was Marquez who was on pole with Lorenzo in second. Rossi, he was on the second row, and it was looking like it's going to be an interesting race because the Hondas look pretty strong, and the Yamahas were struggling for a little bit, but Rossi more so than Lorenzo. But he found something in morning warm. Yeah, off the line, Marquez and Lorenzo both got a pretty decent start. Lorenzo actually getting into the lead. Rossi got an okay start, but going into the first corner and the first couple of corners, he got boxed in a bit and pushed back down to 7th. So he lost a couple of places. Iannone and Dovi, they made up a few places as well, getting into the top few. But Bradley Smith, he's been struggling all weekend and he didn't get the best of starts, and he was quite far down on the first lap. But straight away, it was looking like Lorenzo was trying to stretch everyone like he used to do on the first lap, and had a little gap over Marquez. Danny Pedrosa was in third. You have the two Ducatis as well. Maverick Vinales, he was up there, and Rossi, as I said, he was in 7th, but he did soon make his way past a few of the riders. Maverick Vinales, he was in front of the two Ducatis and had a little battle with Danny Pedrosa. And I tell you what, Vinales was showing his raw speed. He kept attacking the Honda, kept running wide a couple of times, so Pedrosa kept getting back past him, but eventually Maverick did make the move stick, but a mistake a bit later on did allow Pedrosa back through and allowed him to pull away from Vinales. Front, Rossi was making more places up because he had actually got in front of the two Ducatis, Maverick and Danny Pedrosa, and was rapidly closing down Marquez in second and Lorenzo in third. And even though Lorenzo had like 0.7 of his second gap, Marquez was closing that down, as was Rossi. Rossi caught up to Marquez, overtook him, and reeled in Jorge Lorenzo very, very quickly. Got past him, and Rossi went into the lead, and as quick as Rossi got in front of Lorenzo, Marquez decided to do the same as well. Overtook Lorenzo, and it looked like Lorenzo was starting to struggle with the tyres already, because with the new layout of the track at the last sector, it meant that the front tyre on the right hand side was graining during practice and that, so no one really knew what was going to happen. A lot of the riders having to use the hard compound front and rear. A couple of people used medium, like Polar Spargaro. Yeah, Lorenzo started dropping back. Rossi was in the lead. He had about a half-second lead over Marquez, who was in second. Danny Pedrosa, he managed to get in front of Lorenzo as well. So Pedrosa managed to move up to third, and then Lorenzo started slipping back down towards Maverick Vinales, who was in fifth at the time, and he soon caught up to Lorenzo, and they had a pretty good fight, trying to get in front of Lorenzo. Went wide a couple of times. He did get underneath Lorenzo, but as I said, he did run wide a couple of times. Lorenzo got him back, but eventually Vinales managed to stick a block pass on Lorenzo, which Lorenzo wasn't expecting. It lifted him up a little bit, and Vinales managed to pull away from Lorenzo, so Vinales moved up to 4th place. At the front, Rossi's had pretty much the same gap over Marquez, just over half a second, up to 0.7. But Marquez was still there, just floating around the half-second mark, and waiting for his chance to pounce. And then Iannone, was in front of Dovi, and he then started to close in on Lorenzo as well. And within a few laps, he was all over the back of Lorenzo. Um, Probably about half a second behind Lorenzo, and made quite a bad move. Misjudged his break in. I mean, he thinks that Lorenzo had something wrong with his bike because he reckons that Lorenzo was a lot slower going into the hairpin. But I'm not so sure. Just looked like Iannone completely outbraked himself. Tried putting his front brake on a little bit more as he closed in on Lorenzo and almost flipped himself over the handlebars. But instead of going to the outside of Lorenzo, where Iannone would have just gone wide and carried on trying to attack Lorenzo, because he would have got in front of Lorenzo. Unfortunately, Iannone decided to try and get up the inside, and that didn't work. His Ducati clouted the back of Jorge Lorenzo, and down they both went. Lorenzo was really lucky not to break his ankle, because he did slam down on his ankle pretty bad. He was limping, but he is okay. And Iannone did try to apologise, but Lorenzo wasn't having any of it. So unfortunately for Lorenzo, he was out of the race, as was Andrea Iannone. It's second time this season that Iannone's done a bit of a banzai move. So he will be starting the next race from the back of the grid. So he's had his penalty for the next race. But back at the front, with only a few laps to go, Marquez and Rossi were still at it. Marquez slightly closing the gap. Marquez actually almost completely crashed going through the chicane at the second to last corner, right behind Rossi. There was quite a good slow-mo of it on TV that showed Marquez with his right foot off the peg, digging his left knee into the ground to keep the front from going away, and it did look quite spectacular, I have to admit. So he didn't actually crash, so it was very good to watch. But like I said, with a few laps to go, Marquez mounted an attack and got in front of Rossi. Rossi responded, got back in front of him, and then Marquez retook the lead as well, and was looking like he was going to try and pull away, but he didn't quite manage it, because Rossi was matching him corner for corner, and Rossi eventually managing to get back in front of Marquez. Marquez again tried to push to get back in front of Rossi, but made a bit of a mistake, went really wide, and that was pretty much the end of his attack, because it was the last lap, and Rossi went on to take the win. Marquez was second, and it was a really clean battle, and a really good fight to watch. And what made it even better is that in Parc Ferme, both Rossi and Marquez finally shook hands again and spoke a little bit on the podium, also in the press conference, saying that after what happened on Friday, their feud is tiny in comparison. So it's looking like they're getting back on more sportsmanship terms anyway, congratulating each other. Yone Hernandez, he had a bit of a weird race. He kept going too wide off the track and had to drop a couple of places. And I think he actually ended up getting a ride-through penalty, because he came into the pits at one point. I'm not entirely sure what that was for, but he did get back out on track. Bradley Smith, as I said, he didn't get the best of starts. He actually pulled in quite early on because he had a gearbox problem. So he had to retire with 19 laps to go. Obviously, we know what happened to Iannone and Lorenzo. That was with 9 laps to go. And Alicia Spargo, he also retired with 7 laps to go. But yeah, Rossi took the win. Marquez was second. Dani Pedrosa came home in third. Maverick Vinales, a good result for him. He came home in fourth. Paul Espargaro, he done well as well. He was fifth. Cal Crutchlow, back near the sharp end, he was sixth, ahead of Andrea Dovizioso in seventh. Bautista on the Aprilia, good from him. He was eighth. Danilo Petrucci was ninth. Jack Miller 10th. Hector Barbera 11th, Stefan Bradl 12th, Eugene Laverty 13th, so more points for Eugene. Rabat was 14th and Michele Pirro was 15th. Obviously, he's standing in for Loris Baz. Scott Redden, he was 16th, and Yoni Hernandez, after going into the pits and coming back out, he ended up in 17th. So that's closed the championship up again. See Lorenzo not scoring. Marquez moves back into the lead of the championship by 10 points. It was definitely a good race to watch. Obviously, it was all overshadowed by the tragedy that happened with Louis Salom on the Friday. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to leave this video a like, subscribe to my channel for more content. I shall see you guys in the next video. See you!